basic salary, $11,299,895. For the allowances, $3,430,000, and for revolving loan scheme, $20 million. Official entertainment and hotel accommodation, $1 million, and for construction of office building, $20 million, then office equipment, $10 million. We adjusted expenses of committees to $5 million, as well as vehicle to $4. Overall, this resulted to deduction of $56,729,895. That is in response to question rose for what was the deduction of the National Assembly. And then on the issue of salaries, I can tell this was what happened as far as deductions are concerned and as well as allowances. A question on why IEC deduction. The FPAC committee was very much conscious as far as the forthcoming local government elections are concerned, where we deducted issues that are not sensitive to election or that are not directly connected to elections. These are areas maintenance of building and facilities. We deducted from $800,000 to $400,000. Travel expenses, we deduct from $1,150,000 to $150,000. Miscellaneous office expenses, we deducted from $359,646 to $159,646. And miscellaneous office expenses also, $7,823,000 was deducted. And training, of course, this training is on election. A tune of $40 million was budgeted. We deducted $7,584,939. These are the deductions that we effected on IEC and under these budget lines. Honorable Speaker, on CDF is not realized, therefore should not be included. The CDF also was an issue at the level of FPAC. To a point, the decision taken, it has to involve voting. And the chair has to break the tie. You can see how contentious it is. To say it has not been disbursed up to now, members believe there's a need still to have the CDF. And we believe as well the minister is quite conscious of that fact that the CDF, the members are entitled to it, whether the payment is delayed or not. We feel that should not be the stumbling block for the CDF to be part of the budget allocation. On that, I want to seize this opportunity to remind the minister on the CDF of the members for 2022 to be disbursed before we approve the budget. On the issue of the president's visit, that was also a contentious issue and was equally voted. members are with the view, some members are with the view that the allocation is high, the 6 million should be maintained. Others are with the view that because of the actual in 2021, that resulted to increase it to 10,000, 10 million rather. On that, those with the view, why basing it on the actual, the minister can clarify why 6 million was allocated and then 43 million was spent, how and why that happened. That more can be deducted from finance. We believe we have deducted reasonably enough from finance, 26,100,000. To do further deduction that may also affect finance. I think we did a lot with them that made us to arrive to the figure. That the manpower budget was deliberately omitted or removed from the budget. I think it was not deliberate. Yes, there was omission, but when we realized, we drew the attention of the Ministry of Finance, and then the rejoinder was available, and then the copies sent to all the members. Members emphasized on the importance of investing in agriculture. Almost most of the members were emphasizing that. Yes, in order to fight for self-sufficiency, there is a need. As the honorable nominated member said, for us to change our approach as far as agriculture is concerned. The former president's slogan, "Back to Land," there is a need. In Tanzania, the Ojama, I think there's a need. Gambia also rethink how do we radicalize agriculture in the country. We cannot leave it the way it is. We spend a lot and we are not realizing, I will say, enough. If we are spending and we are realizing, then we can say, yes, we need to. But how many projects, agricultural projects do we have? As the honorable member for Woodley is, a lot of canes. Are the canes broken or what? We have a lot of cane projects and they are not paying dividend. We need to radicalize our agricultural system. That is what the honorable nominated member is alluding to. Whether the budget is realistic, that's a question I will leave for the minister to answer. TRRC, the compensation not in the budget, that was also addressed by a member, and then I believe the minister also will respond to that. That is captured in the centralized service. Interior, 123 million for what? It's a question posed. Yes, in the report of the Interior, they indicated this 123 million to be allocated for Interior, but they did not specify for what reason. I believe when we come to the Committee of Whole House, the members in that committee will justify why that 120 million for Interior. On revenue maximization, as the the Vice Chair alluded, it is in our report the approach that we feel should be taken for maximizing the revenue. Special committee to monitor agricultural projects was suggested. That's a very vital proposal. Yes, we have a committee for agriculture, but on special circumstances, special measures are also taken. Yes. Concerns on rates, maintenance of vehicles, and and then furniture and fittings. These are budget lines. There are concerns that we need to look into that. How do we address our high cost on rates, maintenance of vehicles, and furniture and fittings? Honorable Speaker, apart from 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏, all the committees requested for funds to be given to their respective ministries. Only about 160 or 70 million have been saved by 𝒂𝒄𝒄, and what we are requesting about 3 billion. Where are we going to get the money? All committees are requesting and they have not received. Where are we going to get the money? Tomorrow, we are going to come to all house rationally. All of you should look back at your reports and try to bring what is affordable. Not all that you have requested are available. So therefore, before we come here, I will call on all the chairpersons to engage your committees so that you try to rationalize your reports. What you have requested, and we are all calling on 𝒂𝒄𝒄 to add this to your amount. What we have for you is 170 million. This is what we are able to save on our own, and you have not saved anything. The one that you save, I will come to you. The one that you save, Foreign Affairs. Foreign Affairs, in your report, you indicated that the total balance of saving 11,300,000 be allocated to the operational cost of embassies of Sweden, Germany, and Japan. You said you've allocated that. And again, you went further in the report that an amount of 15 million be allocated as an operating cost for each embassy under other charges, when you have already taken your saving of 11,300,000, and now you are also requesting for another 15 million. Huh? No, please. So this is the thing. None of you have made any saving, and we are all asking for more. So tomorrow morning, make sure 9 o'clock we are here. You revisit your respective reports.
We didn't have consensus on this.
What is attainable, you try to bring that. For 𝒂𝒄𝒄, we have done our work, and we did cuttings in all the institutions, especially National Assembly. The highest cutting, 56 million, charity begins at home. Charity begins at we cut everything, salary, allowance, everything, we cut them. So I'm now challenging every committee to go and revisit your reports and do the necessary cutting. Honorable Fofana made mention, we have to look at the approach of the bilateral. Bilateral should not be made in a way that we will allow the ministers to come and lobby. 𝒂𝒄𝒄, we have our knives. We have our knives. All ministries that come to 𝒂𝒄𝒄 or institutions that come to 𝒂𝒄𝒄, we have our knives, we cut. Bilaterals are meant for cutting, but not to allow ministers to lobby. I think committees entertain lobbying too much during your bilaterals. On that note, tomorrow, let's all do our homework before the bilateral, before the Committee of All House, and I thank the Honorable Minister, I thank the Honorable Speaker, our able committees, we thank you for the work that you have done. I thank you all. I don't need to.
Honorable Speaker.
I am done. I don't need to.
Honorable Speaker. Yes, I have a clarification.
You want clarification from him?
Yes, from him, from the mover.
He step out. Now, if you want clarification, he should grant you that clarification.
Honorable Speaker, the mover has stepped out.
I'm not hearing.
The mover has stepped out, so we'll clarify who. let
the mover has
stepped out. So which clarification do you want again from who?
He has stepped out.
Yes.
Please, Majority Leader, we have a procedure in the Parliament.
No.
No.
You want clarity?
Please,
the mover has stepped out.
To me, don't address me, please.
Honourable
This is
member.
a serious business.
Honourable member, you want clarity, isn't it?
Yes, I want clarification on basic salary that they said they have deducted. I want him to tell me, because salaries are statutory. So now he's saying that salaries are deducted. We need to be informed. You are not the right person.
Honourable member, I think we can continue. The honourable member is out. Honourable members, I will now call on the Honourable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs to respond to some of the issues raised and to wind up the debate. Honourable Minister, please.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker, members of the House, staff and of the Ministry of Finance who have been working tirelessly since this journey started months back, media present. Before I take the floor to respond, I will thank the entire House for the very participative nature of this debate. And if my records serve me right, 42 members took the floor, which represents 72% of the whole House, which is a reflection of the concern and the contribution of all the members here in present. A lot of points have been mentioned, and I've taken copious notes, and I'll try to do justice. In the interest of time, I'll summarize. But the salient features of this budget is these are very unusual times. And we at the Ministry of Finance had the hardest task to come up with this budget, because this is a budget which was developed with the challenge that everybody wanted some money, more than the resources are there, and how government raises resources, given that it's a tax-based economy, is to increase taxes. And we believe any tax introduction would kill off the growth that people are recovering from the COVID impact. So we have closed all loopholes to add new taxes. So that literally means that the revenue sources, which is the lifeblood of the revenue generation, was cut off. And yet still, we've managed to increase the revenue by 18% on the backdrop of very good bilaterals. And of course, there was concern about the validity or robustness of our estimation going forward. Yes, every element in the grants section of this budget has been concluded with the donors concerned, and a number of them had been negotiated and agreed upon. Field visit appraisals have been done. We learned from the mistakes of the past not to include anything that is spurious or unidentified. And we will be pleased to inform the esteemed House that we had gone to the World Bank during the last spring annual meeting in the light of the challenges that we had gone through. And the bank and the IMF and other development partners have been so helpful to the country. For the information of the esteemed House, the World Bank has given the Gambia government additional supplementary budget to the tune of 20 million. It's already negotiated. It's going to the board on the 7th of December, and those funds will be disbursed by the month of December before the year end. We also explain our challenges to the IMF as to how we are dealing with the COVID crisis and the challenges with the fuel prices as well. The IMF went out of their way to increase the program augmented amount by 25%. That translated to $20 million with the regular program disbursement of $7 million, $27 million, that will come to $47 million from IMF and the World Bank. And those funds will land before the end of the year, just to support. And this was available due to the strong relationship and commitment we have with these donor partners. And a number of interventions also featured on agriculture. I won't get there, but just from the same World Bank, we complained to them about the feedback we got from our farmers regarding fertilizer price and subsidy. The World Bank was kind enough to donate additional $10 million for next year crop season of fertilizer subsidy. And yesterday we received communication from World Food Program for $2 million, totaling to $12 million. All of this is due to the hard work myself and the team have all worked on, and that is to show the robustness that we have put into our estimate. But these monies I'm mentioning are not in the 2023 budget. They are going to be in the 2022 as we close the year, just to ensure the members of the esteemed August Assembly when we mean robustness. And when you come to revenue projections, we increase domestic tax collection because a lot of revenue mobilization have been done in terms of broadening the tax base and increasing the efficiency. Some of the efficiency example, I'm sure the business community will be complaining as to the taxes at the port, simply due to the introduction of the digitalization of the Asikuda wall, where human interaction is very limited, and we have witnessed marked improvement. And for the information of the August Assembly, the collection for the month of October was 1.2 billion from GRA, which was a record just on that. And we hope those efficiencies should be translated. And on the same note, the ministry has introduced a revenue directorate to focus purely on taxes and revenues, and will cut across all sectors of the economy to ensure what is government's will come to government. And the internal audit has also been directed to change their audit program from expenditure vetting to revenue assurance, and they have developed an audit program to that effect. These are all on the areas of revenue. These are hard times, and we cannot include new taxes, but the only way is to improve efficiencies. Despite that, expenditures have increased 14%, while the deficit has decreased by 14% as well. One notable is the approach to financing deficit, where the domestic borrowing declined by 52%, because we don't want government to be competing with the private sector. That is overall the high-level summary, but I will take time to also comment on agriculture, which has been a cause for concern. Agriculture has a total cumulative budget of 2.89 billion. If you go to page 21 of the all revenue, all income sources, that is 2.4. That does not include the 400 million, which is the subsidy for crop and fertilizer. For the information of the August Assembly, we subsidize the groundnut sector 2 times. We subsidize the flour, fertilizer, and we subsidize the price, the crop finance. This year, the crop price is 32,000 at the SECOS. The market price that we will get as a government is 20,000. So 20 minus 32 is 12,000 per metric ton is what government is subsidizing, just for the information of the August Assembly, all with a view to supporting the sector. So it's not that we have underestimated or underallocated to agriculture, but we have really looked at, because the basis of allocation is the total resource envelope. You cannot just look at the GLF, because even the GLF does have capital elements. So in assessing a budget, you look at the total allocation of resources for the entire envelope, not how those envelopes are financed. Because regardless of GLF development fund or grant or loan, it is going to the sector, and it's the utilization. One information that has been harped on by the members of the House is the absorptive capacity of the ministry. and this has come to the attention of the Ministry of Finance, particularly in project implementation. And for the information of the August Assembly, we have now decided that going forward, all new projects, the fiduciaries will be housed at the Ministry of Finance. What do I mean by that? All procurement, disbursement, and financial management aspects of new projects will be housed at the Ministry of Finance to ensure robust monitoring and implementation. And sector ministries will only be implementing the program element of the projects. So these are the salient points I have wanted to say about the comments raised. I wanted to do justice to each and every member because I took a note of the intervention of each, but in the interest of time, I will not repeat. TRRC, 75 million has been allocated under centralized services as per the member from Banjul South has requested. Combo is requested for, of course, the budget, 33% of the budget is allocated to the social sectors of education, agriculture, and health, together with infrastructure. In fact, if you add the infrastructure element, the envelope will be much larger than that. On the education has the single largest allocation, 2 billion the human capital for going forward. And one very important thing going forward, budget approval is easy, but the hardest part is in the implementation. So we will restructure the budget directorate of the ministry to have 3 sections: the approval section, the monitoring section, and the reporting section, to ensure full reporting and monitoring of the budget. And the budget monitoring report are still posted on the website, but the report that is posted is only focused on expenditures. Now what we report we want to improve is to improve on the entire envelope of the budget, both the revenue and the expenses as well as the deficit financing, to ensure more transparency. Going forward, I think the youth issue I'll have to mention. Youth is not housed in only one ministry. We are aware youth comprises of 65% of the population, and it's a cross-cutting issue. If you go to Ministry of Agriculture, there are youth issues. If you go to Ministry of Trade, there are youth issues. If you go to Ministry of Youth itself, there is a youth issue. So for the information of the August Assembly, I will just inform that the issue of youths is at the highest level of policy in the government. Just on the 18th of November, His Excellency the President launched the National Employment Policy, which will cover the next 5 years, which aims to generate 150,000 jobs in the next 5 years. And the cost of the program is $265 million. The newly approved tourism project of $68 million has a large component that will address the issue of youths, particularly the unemployed youths that have been affected by the tourism sector. So for the information of the August Assembly, whatever you see in the budget, it doesn't mean that is the only allocation for that activity by the government. When you have cross-cutting issues, you have to have a deep dive to be able to filter all the elements of the budget pertaining to youths. Sports is not attended because there is currently a sports development levy that is on telecoms, which is separately ring-fenced resource. The other element on the youths in terms of the entrepreneurship. Youths can access funding from the Social Development Fund. They have a pool of resources that the youths can tap into. And the recent Roots project has the youths matching grant that will support the youths. I think that we will not do justice to this country if we don't invest in our youths, but just that the allocation to the ministry is not the full reflection of government investment in the youths. The numbers are scattered across the budget, and I think next time myself and my team will try to focus and sieve out these thematic statistics and make them available for the National Assembly members in the interest of time. The member for Kiang West revised budget, lower collection. Well, the collection that we reported in my statement laying the budget was as of September. We know we had by that time 3 months to go, And we believe the new performance we've seen for the month of October from GRA, we believe will enhance the revenue performance. But we do stand by the numbers we put forward, and unless, of course, budget is a plan. And there's one very important element of the budget which I want to bring to the August Assembly. Budget is not just about resource allocation. Budget is a planning tool, it's a communication tool, it's a monitoring tool. So I would call on the esteemed members of the National Assembly to work with the ministry to ensure that the budget doesn't just serve the resource allocation task, but the other elements of the budget are also carried out throughout the rest of the year. And our doors will always be open to any member who has any questions, or we will also try to envisage to report quarterly to the implementation of the budget to the National Assembly, regardless of sessions being held. The member for Talinding Kunjang was mentioning about the national insurance contribution is already too high and already it will take the budget over the envelope. I'm sure the committee members will discuss that because the national insurance is very new. So even if you allocate almost $1 billion to it, what is the absorptive capacity? Already we are investing almost $3 billion in the health sector. So what do? Do we invest concurrently on the national insurance scheme as well as the health sector? That will make it almost unbearable to the budget. And we don't have much resource envelope or much windows open. Foreign embassies, these are been well deliberated on, but the position of the government is that yes, these are important investments to do. Diplomacy is no longer representation anymore. It's what you call economic diplomacy. Some of the bilateral engagement from these embassies benefits far exceed the cost of maintaining the embassies. And I think we know Gambia is a small country, but small in size does not mean small in diplomatic quarters. Because in diplomacy, every country has one vote, even if you go to the UN. So size doesn't matter. We should not discount ourselves. I think it's high time for us to think big, regardless of our meager resources, and just be smart and do it right. That's our position on that. Agriculture, again, I will say, if you look at the allocation, overall allocation is an increase of 69% compared to last year's budget. What we observe is the absorptive capacity of the Ministry of Agriculture, which is a cause for concern, not only for the National Assembly, but for His Excellency, the President himself. And I will inform the August Assembly here, after one of his trips, the President personally summoned all the senior management of agriculture, and the queries you are raising here, he put it to them. So it's not just the National Assembly. He has done this himself, and the Agricultural Ministry is aware of it. We know there are legacy issues, but I don't think it will be business as usual. But we cannot rest on our laurels. We have to leverage on what the committee members have proposed, that a special committee be assigned. From the member for Central Badibu, invest in fisheries. I think the social sector will address all the concerns here mentioned. And of course, it has been a major drill on agriculture throughout. From the members of the Deputy Speaker also spoke about that, how millions have been spent on agriculture without traceability. But with the revised emphasis on results, I'm sure the ministry is also listening and they will rise to the challenge. On the member for Sami was commenting on textbooks. Well, the Ministry of Education is very well resourced. It has the largest allocation. And even another member commented on the roofs not being fitted. Every school is given a school improvement grant that is given to the headmasters to manage the fiscal infrastructure in the school and also to buy supplies for the school. So if you look at the budget, there is a column for the Ministry of Education called School Improvement Grants that is to address the infrastructure needs on a small scale at the school level, not to build new buildings. And as far as new buildings are concerned, The government is very grateful to MRC Holland Foundation that have been very helpful. Member for 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒆𝒔 Councillor mentioned about subvented institutions. We can yes mention that there are 56 of such, and they consume about 4 billion of the national budget. And some of the subvented institutions are doing no better than government department. We will be requesting a review of the subvented agencies in the next year to study how to go about them, because it looks like every new act is creating another agency. So it's a never-ending game, and budget is limited. We will introduce digitalization as we have done with the Askuda wall. And the new digital ministry is working on a payment gateway, which we expect to kickstart by next year. And we believe with that electronic commerce will improve, and government transaction can be transacted and payment can be made to government electronically instead of cash to minimize human interaction. Member for Brikama South was asking whether the budget is realistic. Yes, we stand by that. That is realistic. But of course, we will stand on one very important caveat. A budget is a plan. And to the extent that the plan, the assumptions or how we expect the year to look out, they don't pan out. But we have not been very optimistic in our projections. We have been as conservative as is possible. And the tax revenue shortfall, no, there has not been any tax revenue shortfall. If you look at the 2022, the revenue shortfall was a deliberate act of the government to cushion the pain of the crisis on the people. Like we have 1.3 billion in petroleum price subsidies and almost 2 billion in terms of duty waivers for the OIC projects being conducted. The duty waivers on the OIC projects about 2.4 billion. 2.4 plus 1.3, that's almost 3.7, almost 4 billion. So if you add that, were it not for those interventions, we believe the revenue would have been on track. I think the SOEs were also mentioned. Pardon? Oh, okay. I'm sorry if I got distracted. Yes, the SOEs dividend. SOEs, total assets of the SOEs about $33 billion. And we are very concerned that we are not getting much out of them. This year, we've managed to secure 270 million as dividend from ports and 9 million from GNPC. And this after the exerted effort of the SOE Directorate and the position the ministry took to instruct all SOEs to buck up. And as a result, we have put in an allocation of 360 million for next year as dividend. We believe that will be achievable. And we have, as we speak, prepared 3 SOEs for signing of performance contract. As soon as His Excellency comes back from his tour, we'll table the date for signing. And those SOEs are the Gambia Ports Authority, GNPC, and the Social Security. These 3 will sign the performance contract. All the contract key performance indicators have been agreed, and the SOEs will understand that it's no longer business as usual. I'm sure you are aware of our interaction with NAWEC when they came for support at the ministry. We want to understand their financials better, and it caused some eyebrows. But that is the way we should run state affairs. Matters of the government must be dealt with as such. We handle these resources as if they are our personal resources, and we will not do anything less than that. Fonyi Bintang mentioned about agriculture. Yes, agriculture is no shortage of resources. You can see even the fertilizer subsidy, the groundnut subsidy. If you add all of that, it's going to almost run into 3+ billion. So agriculture has a problem, structural issue, which I believe the ministry will work on that. The ministry for MOHAS funding. Yes, MOHAS has, Ministry of Higher Education. Higher Education has not, the University of the Gambia had not introduced any increase of tuition for the last 5 years. And we all know higher education cannot be free. Currently, we are offering scholarship packages as well as subvention to the universities and the higher learning institutions. We are aware of that, but again, it calls about the emergence from the crisis. Everybody knows how tight it is for families now. If universities have to increase their fees currently, we know the pressure will be high. But we can also inform the August Assembly that definitely in the near future, university will have to be obliged to be more sustainable by increasing their fees to make it more viable. There is an issue of fighting corruption being mentioned across the board. Yes, government is doing every effort, and we are doing this through digitalization, through more compliance oversight and review. And we cannot do this alone. I think the National Assembly can play a very important part. Every citizen can contribute to the discussion. And the good thing is people are talking about it at least. The more we talk about it, the more it becomes apparent, and we believe deterrence can set in. Well, I think the issue of the central bank, the use of reserves, these reserves were not monies lost. They were only foreign currency given to enable the importation of essential commodities. And they were transacted at exchange rates of about $59 to the dollar. And the dollar equivalent is with the central bank. The central bank is currently using those dollars, given that the tourism has increased the supply of dollars to replenish their reserves. So it's not a waste of resources, but that's the whole purpose of a reserve. When you are in difficulties, you resort to it, and then you solve your problem and build it back. So as of my last conversation with the governor, already more than $500,000 have been purchased in the market to replenish the reserve, and more of that exercise will continue. Youths can continue entrepreneurship, access to finance for the youths. Yes, the SDF is available as funding for the youths to be able to access funds to do their entrepreneurial activities. And the member for Jokadu, of course, agriculture, I think I have mentioned that. Agriculture, of course, I think I could not agree more that agriculture is very important. But it looks like there are structural issues. And already more than almost 2.89 billion has been allocated to the sector, both direct and indirect. Direct from the GLF, indirect from partners and projects. So I think we all have to think outside the box to see how agriculture can be supported. And the project design, but then that's a sector issue, and the National Assembly has taken upon itself to create a special committee, and we wish the committee good luck to help us revitalize agriculture. Fonyi Jarol talk about, again, corruption, digitalization we believe is the way forward, and embassy downsizing from Serekunda West has been answered through these embassies. We believe over the long term will pay for themselves more than the cost of setting them up. Opanyomi mentioned about the agriculture, yes, but the absorptive capacity of the sector is an issue as there is more resources than. Also, not just the direct resources of project grants. Agriculture is a beneficiary of in-kind contribution. The Japanese government grant on an annual basis Japanese rice aid, and those proceeds are with the Ministry of Agriculture. The Chinese embassy, the Chinese government also gave some rice aid, and that too is with the Ministry of Agriculture. So I don't think the ministry is sort of supply of resources. Well, if the money is in central bank, the Japanese grant has specific outline of what the money can be used for, so long as it is for the agricultural sector. If the money is in central bank and the account balance is quite healthy, we are aware. So there's nothing to stop the ministry developing programs to tap into it and to get the job done. It's not a shortage of resources. Even the Japanese aid grant alone, funds are at the central bank for that. And what you're asking for, I think we just have to do it incrementally. Budget is not the best way to address structural problems. No. You have to fix the structure first, and then gradually give the resources to move with the absorptive capacity But if you give more resources simply because it's a priority, without fixing the structural issues, you don't get a very good results. But then the sector will answer that better than I do as a Minister of Finance. The revenue not likely, the member for Latrikunda saying whether these revenues are not likely. We are sure our projections, we stand by them, unless something out of the ordinary, but there are, in fact, I think we have introduced some new revenue measures, which by virtue of them not having a baseline, we have not introduced here. And one such of them will be the immigration quota levy will also, expatriate quotas will be revised. So we definitely stand by, it's better to under-promise and over-deliver than do otherwise, and we took that into account in designing this budget. Member for Joshua was asking for how long can, of course, I think agriculture, I cannot speak for them, but it's a national concern. And national concern is not because no resources have been allocated. If anything, I think from childhood, I could always remember a project in that ministry. And I have no capacity to criticize another ministry, but we all see the structural issues. And the new minister is really keen on working hard to resolve those issues. I think your intervention will support. The public, we are also looking at another approach to agriculture. That is the introduction of the public-private partnership, particularly in the area of rice cultivation. Recently, the Korean government is supporting a public-private partnership with a high-yield variety rice together with a private sector operator. And already, I think pilot farms have been done in the CRR, and even the first harvest of the test, I'm sure you are aware. So we expect that to yield some results as well. And when they came, they met with me in the ministry, they promised to support. And we believe that's the best way, because we believe this time the public-private partnership will support, and the land policy being developed by the Ministry of Lands will also support. Because another area we observe from a distance is the land policy. When the land is developed, land policy is the biggest impediment to, we all claim that we have enough land, water, but we know from the experience of Maru farms, as soon as he started the outgrower scheme, some of them started giving him issues about the land tenure system. So we believe that a properly formulated land policy will go in hand supporting the agriculture sector. Defense is important, as has been alluded to by the member for Joshua. We are aware of that, but they have been well resourced, and we are aware. I think before the end of the year, if my memory serves me well, we have already allocated funds to build facilities at the Joshua prisons in order to decongest Mile 2. Already that is ongoing. And another member asked about the youths as far as the Independence Stadium is concerned. Yes, we have already allocated $100 million in the current year for the refurbishment of the stadium, and those exercises are ongoing. The contract has been signed, the resources have been secured. So that's why there is no provision for stadium repair in the 2023 budget. I think $100 million. Dollars couldn't be. I'm sorry if I said dollars. I apologize. Yes. Okay. Sanementering was mentioning about budget for the environment. Yes, I think to have a budget line for climate change tend to result in impact. So it is the impact areas that will have budget lines. And we do take note of your observation. I hope at the Committee of Supplies that will be taken on board. Environment is very important and is one area of tapping resources. And at the recently concluded COP27, a large funding was allocated to tap to avoid impact of climate change. So we believe we have to also support that direction. Member for Basse was mentioning about tracking civil servants. Yes, I think a number of ministries have pilot attendants that are automated, including the Ministry of Finance. That is also on the nominated member mentioned the issue of revenue, and yes, that is the biggest problem. Gambia doesn't have a problem of expenses, we have a problem of revenue. And the only way forward is to enhance our revenue mobilization. And this is why we have gone on to create a revenue directorate in the ministry, and we will also work with all the other ministries. And I like the suggestion by the honorable members to say all the revenue collecting agencies of government that are self-collecting be tested. Because when we did the same experiment at the Senegambia Bridge, we saw positive gains. And we will look at the mineral sector, we'll look at the mining sector, as well as even the fishery sector as to how they are collecting the revenue. We'll work with the ministries to see how we can do that. And thanks for that suggestion. It's a long, I'm sure the morning is running and we'll be here tomorrow morning. But most of the things, Songhai Center, yes, this is a very important initiative and has been mentioned, but we will look at how to replicate this. And when it comes to youths, the Ministry of Higher Education is planning to build 5 TV centers in all the major centers, in all the centers. And on His Excellency's current tour, 3 of such centers' foundation stones are being laid to address the issue of youths and unemployment and skills. So also, we are at a very advanced stage of negotiating a human capital project with the World Bank, which will address the issue of TVET going forward. And we believe that project will come on stream by 2024. The negotiations should be completed next year. And we believe that will come in handy to address the issue of skills for our youths and skills that are relevant to the market. And for member for Bundunka Kunda was, of course, agriculture. I think it was just what threw off most people was just the GLF table, which was on page 1, which only look at 282. But even in the same budget, without going into the development partners, the input subsidy of 400 will take that to 682. So if you add that, that's what take it to 2.89 billion. We are aware of agriculture as a very important sector, and government is not neglecting the sector. The employment ministry, Banjul not mentioned, whether the trade ministry, yes, employment is very much anchored at the Ministry of Trade. That's why the recently launched National Employment Policy aimed to create 150,000 jobs in the next 5 years was launched on the 18th. Yes, the Janjambure member mentioned about the revenue challenge for the country. We are aware of that, and we've mentioned our intervention on that. In a nutshell, I will not repeat because most of the other deliberations are repetition. In the interest of time, I thank all the honorable members for staying this late and for the keen interest displayed, and I urge all of us to exhibit the same interest in the implementation and monitoring phase of the budget as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Let me equally thank honorable members for your immense contributions during the debate. And of course, clerk and staff, and the honorable minister and his technical backup. Honorable members, I now want to put the question. Be resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the consolidated report of the Finance and Public Accounts Committee on the reports of the committees on the budgets within their remits. Those in favor, please say aye. Pardon? With amendments. I'm not hearing. Can you?
No, I'm saying we are not going to adopt it blanketly because there are still questions to be answered. So if we adopt it, okay.
Honorable Speaker.
You want to adopt it without amendment?
Adoption, you can adopt it. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
it doesn't mean it's the be all and the end all. We're going to another stage.
Yeah.
Honorable members, be it resolved that this honorable assembly do adopt the consolidated report of the Finance and Public Accounts Committee on the remits of the committees on the budgets within their remits. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, it is about 2:46, about 14 minutes to 3 a.m. And we were exchanging notes. We're thinking of, and we are to be back here tomorrow. So today, okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and we want to also allow honorable members to rest because tomorrow will be another long day. So that we want to start by midday tomorrow.
Honorable Speaker, after Friday prayers.
Honorable members, you can make your
Yes.
3 o'clock tomorrow.
Honorable members, this is a suggestion put on the floor.
Yeah.
You can make your comments.
No, wait.
Yes, member for Lower Salum.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I guess we go for after Juma prayer because it's a long day. That will help members because if we come midday before we prepare Juma prayers take place. So why can't we after Juma? Then we have our.
Any order?
Yes.
Where is Deputy Speaker? File didn't go for him. Deputy Speaker, nominated Mamalagi City.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, tomorrow is Friday. We either come 11 or 3:30 because if you want to come midday. Honorable Speaker,
let's allow him to make his suggestion.
Honorable Speaker, tomorrow is Friday. We have Juma prayer. If we want to convene at midday, that means before members come into the chambers, it will be time for Friday prayer. And it's better to come 3:30 and then endeavor to work to finish so that Saturday we will rest. Because if you want to start 1 o'clock, after 20 minutes, we have to break up for Friday prayer and we won't come back again up to 3 or 4. So if 3 o'clock, then we work to finish.
Honorable members, especially Upper Salum.
Honorable Speaker, this is a very young and dynamic parliament. We want to come back tomorrow 9 o'clock and finish the work. Tomorrow 9 o'clock. We are all young parliamentarians. Let's come back 9 o'clock. We work.
Honorable Speaker.
My honorable member, my worry is look around and see the number of empty spaces, and yet you are young.
Yeah, I think already we are in Friday already. Today is Friday, and I think we need some sacrifice. We understand it's been a long day, but we can rest from 3 a.m. up to 12 midday. Even if it's 1 hour, it's something. We can convey from 12 to 1:30. Please, it's a suggestion. We can convey from 12 to 1:30 and break and go and pray and come. 1 hour in Parliament is something. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Any honorable member, any other comments? Yes, member for Banjul North.
Okay, Honorable Speaker, for me, I believe it is important for us to come after Juma prayers, and that is 3:30. Yeah, because we also have to be very convenient in terms of what we have to do, and in that regards, we must relax and come back comfortably and do what we're supposed to do, because this is not a document that we need to play with.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I think money would be a problem. Let's come 3 o'clock. Like 3 o'clock. By 3:30, we commence.
Honorable members, it looks like the trajectory is towards after Juma.
Honorable Speaker, 9 o'clock.
Pardon? Honorable Majority, my fears are that even if we say we come here at 12, we will not start at 12. It will be going towards 1, and by the time we are going for Juma, and we will have wasted a lot of time. That is my fears, because anytime we talk about starting at a specific time, we must give allowance that we will have 30 minutes or so delayance. Much more, members are tired after a whole day's work, and then you go home now. Some members, before they reach home, maybe in another hour or more time, and then it becomes challenging.
Yeah, I think we can maintain 3 o'clock. Let's maintain 3 o'clock then.
We are not coming at a given time and start another time. We are coming at 3 or 3:30, either one. 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Honorable members, I now put the question. Be resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned until Friday, 25th November, 2022. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The Assembly now stands adjourned until Friday, 25th November, 2022 at 1500 hours.